It's going to be a double episode week. Why? Well, the Childeberg episode was phenomenal, but then I came back and I was like, I got a week's worth of stupid nonsense that I want to share with you. And after all of the insights that both Carr and Bird had for us, the utmost of intellects in the liberty movement and everything that they knew about Epstein that I didn't, and all the insights that they had about Corona and the other things that took place in the world this past year, that was no place for my stupidity and nonsense. That was with the insights that they were throwing at us, I didn't want to belittle their intellect by talking my stupidity. And now, I'm back with nothing to do with my time, so I figured it's going to be a double episode week. So I hope you guys are ready for 2 episodes. But you know what you have to do before I get into this week's episode? I think you do. I think you already know what I'm about to say. You got to go to theblackcaptain.com. You got to spend 20 of your hard-earned dollars. They weren't even that hard-earned. Let's be honest, with inflation, what's $20 these days anyways? And most of you haven't left the house. You're not going on dates. You probably got a couple unemployment checks. $20 is literally nothing, and that's all it's going to take to listen to 3 hours of an unbelievable space-scripted comedy done by myself and my friend Menu and Heart that will also help me purchase a car door that needs to be purchased in the state of Seattle. So please, go to theblackcaptain.com and listen to The Black Captain. Also, send me an email, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of it. I think it's pretty cool, and I hope to do more of them. It's kind of fun writing scripts. First thing I want to get into is I'm noticing that whatever apps you're using on your phone, they're getting a little bit creepier. Like the amount of stuff that they need you, like if you want to play like fish in a pond, all of a sudden they need your social security number. They're going to have to get your thumbprint into the system. They're going to have to know your driver's license thing, your penis measurements. They need all the information about your life. Here's what happened to me. I got logged out of Instagram. And first, they logged me out of Instagram, and what, they need your phone number to log in, because they want to know your phone number. But then they did the creepiest shit I've ever seen of any app ever. They wanted a picture of my face from all 3 angles. You know why? So that they can permanently log your face for facial recognition software. Let's call a spade a spade. That's how they identified all those people that walked into the Capitol building. They used a lot of resources. They're just able to flag your face against your profile, which has your name on it. And then all of a sudden, wherever the fuck you go, at any point in time, boom, they got your face from all 3 angles. And it was like even creepy the way that you had to do it within the design. You had to so I saw that and I was like, I'm done with Instagram. But then Sid put his face in there. So now I'm good to commit whatever crimes I want, because whatever I do, it's actually just going to go back to, or maybe if Sid commits a crime, they're going to come to me because my face is in it. Maybe that doesn't work out well for me. Maybe I actually want my face on more people's things so that they can get in trouble if I do something. The whole creepy, government following us and tracking everything we're doing is, I guess it's hard to predict how you get your friends in trouble instead of you. I'm going to have to think this through some more, but anyways, Sid Floyd was nice enough to volunteer his face for the facial recognition software of Instagram, and now I got a biker gang of kids on bikes coming right at me. I would love to fight 10 kids on bikes. I feel like I could take down 6 of them before one of them kicked me in the nuts, and then another one finally figured out that they just have to go for my legs. But I feel like at least 6 of them, and especially if they're on bikes, because if they're on bikes, you can throw a couple of them over. It takes them a minute to have to get up from the bikes. You can squash them, you can just kick them while they're down, stomp, boot right into the head, which, by the way, you do that on the soft spot of, the temple, you might just crush their head on the spot. They're not getting back up from that. But you know what? I think they heard me screaming about how I was going to kick their ass from the car, so they went on their merry way. And someone should tell them to wear helmets. I mean, if I got to kick the ass of 4 kids on bikes so that they know that they should be wearing helmets in the future, I'll do it. When I was a kid, you had to wear a helmet. And then even when you fell into car doors, you were okay. Someone should teach these kids something. Moving on, I want to tell you something that's going to scare you, and I'm going to put it right into the episode description. A couple weeks ago, I had Sam Parker on the show, and Sam Parker is absolutely one of my favorite guests. He's a really insightful guy. He seems to have a handle on everything and an interesting perspective on everything. He made a claim on the podcast which sounded a little bit too out there for me, which was that apparently in the initial trial studies of animals when they used mRNA vaccines, I think the terminology that he used, but you'd have to go back to that episode, I don't want to put words in his mouth, is that the trials led to widespread death. And when he said that, at first I just kind of flagged it with like, I think he just pushed it too far. And the reason I thought he had pushed it too far is that, for one, I thought, they can sneak things by us, but I couldn't really believe that there was a possibility that if the trials in animals didn't go well, that they would move forward with bypassing, human trials and just getting it out there. It just seemed like too much of a claim, and it also sounded like something that, if that information existed, it seemed weird to me that there would be no reporting on it whatsoever. So I did hit him up afterwards because I asked a couple of the other experts in the medical field that have appeared on this show before if they could, if they knew anything about that claim. They said that they couldn't find any information on it. I did some of my own Googling, and I wasn't really coming across any sources that struck me. The problem with medical journals is that you can present a bullshit medical journal to me, or like whatever is the most relied upon medical journal. It's both Chinese to me. We're talking about things that are outside of my expertise, and when it comes to, I guess, arguments, I can kind of read an argument and tell you, hey, this is a bullshit argument, and here's why this logic doesn't hold up. If you're presenting to me the study results of something with ferrets, I have no way of interpreting that. And if I'm looking at the numbers, I don't know what I'm looking at. If I'm I don't know one thing from another. Take a look at it. So I did reach back out to Sam and I asked him for his sources. And he sent me a list of about 8 sources, which I then sent over to some other people to validate. And here's what I can say with certainty, and then here's where I'm asking you. I'm going to link these sources into the episode description. If you're one of these people with an actual medical expertise, please take a look at them. Email me, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Let me know your thoughts. What I can say is that the claim, at a minimum, is accurate, that there were studies with ferrets, and I think it was mice, in which the mRNA vaccine led to inflammation and to other health complications when the test subjects were reintroduced to variants of the virus at a later point and date. Now, here's where I'm not 100% certain. I don't know if there's 100 other studies that they did that it worked out fine. I don't know if these are the exact mRNA vaccines that we're personally taking. I don't know the dates on these things. There's a lot of things I can't validate for you because at the end of the day, I'm kind of stupid. I'm not totally stupid. I'm kind of stupid, and I'm honest enough to tell you that this is outside the scope of my expertise, but it is one of the most anti-vaccine arguments I've heard to date, and I think it's important for all of us, and it's the philosophy of the show, which I've stated before. I'm more putting out things in question forms so that we can all kind of do our own analysis and, become smarter together, more informed together, or just, laugh at the fact that no one is really giving us real information and that existence and life is weird. So anyways, please go into the episode description. If you've got any expertise when it comes to this stuff, email me, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. If you read it, you really understand it, you want to get on next week's episode and tell us about it, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Like I said, I don't want to do a ton more talking about the vaccines because I think we've thoroughly trashed them. I don't know how many more arguments we have to make against them, and I do think that the topic's a little bit boring. I will say that some of the information, it seems like the best website is actually a government website, ncbi.gov, but go check that out in the episode description. The other thing is, if you have a particular expertise in this field, I don't know if you guys checked out when I did my Rob's Newsroom end of year thing, but I want to do a 7 to 10 minute piece. I'm working on like a 5-minute chunk of jokes about the vaccines, and I want to do something in that slideshow style, specifically about Fauci. And so I'm starting to do a little bit of research on the relationship between, I think it's the NIH and the pharmaceutical companies, some of the conflicts of interest, the way that they are able to profit off of government investments into some of these viruses while they own patents. It's an interesting world of which at the moment I know nothing about. All that I've been able to say about Fauci thus far is I know the guy's lying to me, and it seems to me like he's basically a sales representative for the pharmaceutical companies, and I don't have a full understanding of the relationship. But now that those emails have come out, I just feel a little bit more validated in my analysis from the outset of this, that guy strikes me like he is a liar, and he does not have the public interest at heart, and that he is like the core of, deep state government representing pharmaceutical companies. So I'm going to start researching that topic. And once again, I don't like doing work. So if you're out there and you want to do this homework for me, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I'd love to collaborate with some actual smart people who maybe are better at doing research, specifically in the medical field, and maybe I can turn it funny and change some people's minds. While I'm on the topic of Fauci, firstly, when it comes to the emails, I'm not going to talk about that at all here because we just did a long part of the problem that I think covered everything. Part of the problem does not need my plug, but if for some reason you're not regularly listening to that show, but you do listen to Run Your Mouth, I don't think that there's any more that needs to be said about those emails. We did a fairly thorough coverage of all the little things in there that seem to be flagrant. There's more information coming out, and I'm sure on Friday's episode we're going to get into more of that. I will say I would like to put together the march to hang Fauci. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that by rule of mob we should hang Fauci. I actually think that we should do the March to Hang Fauci, where we lobby government to change the law that specifically, if someone in government does something such a flagrant abuse of power where it's like beyond treason, where they're torturing kids in the names of pharmaceutical profits. I took that out of my ass. I'm part of the problem. It's a pretty good line. I'm going to Alex Jones it right now again so you can feel the intensity of it. A man who tortured kids for the sake of pharmaceutical profits. I could probably come up with some other good ones, some other good slogans for this march. No, but I think government needs to enact a new law that if you're like a governor and you've got water that you say is fine, but it's actually got hazardous chemicals in it, or if you lie about needing to wear a mask when you don't need to wear a mask, you lie about the risks of things, you force down people's governments. If you abuse your power in such an incredible way, such as, lying to us about having, funded gain-of-function research, which maybe there's a good tension for gain-of-function research, but you guys were just wrong because you were trying to, prevent world pandemics, but you ended up causing one. People make mistakes. I make them all the time. That's why I try not to take on important work. I'm smart enough to know that I should avoid real responsibility. And that's on you. That's where the whole confidence thing is wrong. Because we're telling dumbasses that they should have some confidence, and then they go to medical school. They realize that they're not good at it, but they do realize, hey, I'm pretty good at lying. So then they end up just taking the government position, and then they just have more and more people that they're responsible to. They got to lie bigger and bigger, and that's why don't have confidence. No one should have confidence. Actually be good at things, and then recognize that you're good at things, and then just commit to, hey, here's what I actually can do. That's like the better model for life. We got to stop with this whole confidence thing, because I think that's what's getting people into trouble. I think we're telling people that they should do things above their skill set, and they're too dumb to realize that they are dumb, and then you end up with world pandemics. And anyways, back to what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that we should hang Fauci, but I'm not saying that by rule of mob we should show up to his house and pull him out and hang him in the street. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we should get the millions of people to march on Washington and express to them that in order for this to be a just society, we need to have that if government officials flagrantly abuse their powers in ways that rob people of their businesses or rob people of their lives. I mean, we all went through a fucking weird-ass year, and it's in part because of Fauci's lies and errors, and there should be significant accountability for that to ensure that it doesn't happen again. This is more egregious, in my opinion, than serial rapist or serial murder. Like, this is as bad as it gets, just in terms of the sheer number of people that were affected. And it's easy for us to kind of go, well, it's a government, you know what I mean? Even us as the red-pilled people to kind of take the perspective of this is a guy and he was doing his job and he didn't mean to harm people. Like, you can kind of look at him as being a part of the apparatus, and so it's not so flagrant. I think it is really flagrant. I think if there's any concept for punishing people as a prevention for other people repeating these behaviors, this is the most flagrant thing that any individual can do to other human beings, is abuse their government power in order to profit and create harm for other individuals. There should be significant repercussions. This shouldn't be a slap on the wrist kind of thing. There shouldn't be a, hey, you got it wrong. And maybe we need more evidence of the fact that he was blatantly lying to us before we actually pull him up and hang him. But I'm just saying there should be a swift process for actual justice on behalf of every American who suffered this past year because of the guidance of Anthony Fauci. And that's why I would like to do the March to Hang Fauci. And if any of you guys are out there and you want to join me, maybe we can actually, I'm not that good at the internet, as you can see from my efforts to sell Black Captain and join this show. I think there's other people like a Laura Lunar who will slap herself to to the doors of whatever and then just get ignored while she looks like a person who just needs to use the bathroom. So maybe that's not the best strategy, but maybe we can get this going. The March to Hang Fauci. Maybe we can just get t-shirts made up and we can pretend like that event actually happened, and you walk down and you're like, wait, was there actually a March to Hang Fauci? You'd be like, yeah, there was totally, and I was there. All right, so let's talk Summer Porch Tour. It's our biggest one yet. First, starting with Philly and Maryland. July 4th weekend. July 3rd, we are going to be in Philly. And then July 4th, we're going to be in Max's backyard in Maryland. Both shows were an absolute thrill last year. Some people came for they came for both shows, and they both had a great time. So show up, and that lineup is going to be myself, BK Chris, Menu and Heart, and the Shedcast Boys. It will be comedy and live music and good times. You just go to RobbieTheFlyer.com. I have show dates up on my website. It's all linked to the Eventbrite. It's pay whatever you want. Show up. Bring your own beer. There's no venue to deal with. This is an entirely fan-on-fan operation. Fans are hosting it. I'm showing up to hang out. You're showing up to hang out. I promise you, everyone who showed up to a gig last year had an absolute blast. Here's what else we've got lined up so far. I've got a date in Nashville, which is going to be with CPU God. It's going to be me, BK Chris. We're both going to be, it's like 40 minutes outside of Nashville. CPU God, he bought himself a farm. So it's going to be a Saturday in August. Come hang out, bring your sandwiches, bring your lawn chairs, bring your beers. He has a nice stage built for us, and he's going to be doing an entire presentation on Bill Gates. So we're going to do a live stand-up show, followed by a live Run Your Mouth with me, BK Chris, and CPU God doing a presentation on Bill Gates. The other ones that I have lined up is Boston, July 17th. We're going to do a live smoke out, bug out, along with a live stand-up comedy show that's hosted by another fan. And then I want to do two more. I've got two more ideas. I'd like to do a Shed night, which is we've been doing live stand-up shows and music, and then I want to do a live Run Your Mouth from the Shed. Old school, no news, just us hanging out. I don't know if you guys have been back the archive to the first Summer Porch Tour when I first met the Shedcast Boys, but it was, we hit it off right off the bat. If only I could meet women like the Shedcast guys, where it's just, you meet them, you take some mushrooms, and you realize this was meant to be. And then the last event I'd like to do this year is a Run Your Mouth Summer Sunday celebration of sandwiches, and I'm thinking of like a Sunday afternoon drinking day, somewhere nice, and, Shedcast guys will perform, little stand-up, maybe a live podcast, kind of bit of a hybrid. We'll review sandwiches. Everyone will bring sandwiches, just a celebration of sandwiches. And then, of course, we're going to have the March on Washington to hang Fauci. So hit me up. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Honestly, between this and PorkFest, there aren't that many summer dates left, but if you're in the tri-state area, and it's not even the tri-state area, I mean, we're kind of going around, but if you think we can get a show off in your backyard, and you've got a nice setup for us, hit me up. I think the Summer Porch Tour has kind of shifted as I seem to more solo rant the show. So in the past, it used to just be I'd show up to people's houses, and we had some fun ones. I shot guns with Alex. I sat in a whatever, like a treehouse with Puisno Steppy. I've done a bunch of weird ones, and they were all a great time. I met Professor Lady. Maybe I can track her down. She's been a great guest on every single episode I've had her on. So we've kept it weird. Everyone's been a blast. They've all been interesting. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. If you've got a pitch for why you should be included in Summer Porch Tour, I will be there. Oh, you know what we're going to have to do? Yosef. I'm going to have to do an OG episode back on Yosef's porch. I'm going to track him down. I know he's told me not to show up at his house anymore. I've stood outside with the podcast mic in hand, yelling at him. I've done the high fidelity move where I'm standing there with my boombox trying to sing songs. I've thrown little pellets at his window, and he's screamed back, "I've got a family now. I can't be podcasting. This is nothing that an adult could be doing." And I keep telling him, no, that's why you got a podcast. So anyways, we're going to have to do an OG episode from Yussel's porch. And hit me up, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. In terms of flying, I'm down for it, but I just got to be honest, it's expensive. Like, I realize it cost me $100 just to even get to the airport and park my car there. Flights are like an extra $200, like 200 easy. It's probably 200 to 300. Hotel room for one night, you're looking at another 200. Car rental 200. So even for me to be break even, it's almost like $1,000. I don't know if that math adds up perfectly. And then if there's another comic coming with me so we can get a show off. So it's not that I'm against doing flying gigs. It's just you're going to have to be rich with some budget. So if you're rich with budget, you got sandwiches and a wife with big titties, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. We're not against flying. I've been flying all over the country. I just did Childerberg. I just did Portland. I'm going to be doing Nashville. Really, if you just have like a porch where, you know, it's a market that I think I can sell enough tickets to make it worthwhile, I'm down. And if you hit me up like CPU God and you say I'm building you a stage and I got a whole fucking farm here in Nashville, you got yourself a pitch and a presentation on Bill Gates. What are you going to do a presentation on? robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Okay, it's enough plugging. That was too much plugging. Let's move on. I got some observations from flying. I don't know if you appreciated my last round of observations from flying, but I got more. I'm a world traveler now. I'm an 80s comic. I take flights all over the country, and now I got my airplane jokes. The first is, early morning I was waiting for a flight, and there was this dude who filled up his cup of coffee, just scalding up hot coffee over the brim. It's like fill up your own cup, like you pay for the cup, then you walk up to the coffee machine, and he fills it up like over the brim, right? And then he adds a little bit of milk on it, so it's like already slightly spilling out of the cup. And then I see him reach to pick up, and I'm in the back, I'm like, well, that's obviously not going to work. And he picks it up, and then it spills all over his hand. He burns his hand. He's like, oh, man, what happens to this cup? You stupid cup. He, like, freaked out. It was like watching a child try and put the triangle into the circle. You know what I mean? When it's the old what shape goes where. And then you realize that that guy votes. You forget how stupid people are. You live a life where you're interacting with people like you and I, and we're only mediocre stupid, and you forget how fully stupid other people are until you start flying around the country and you actually interact with them, or you take out your headphones to actually watch what they're saying to each other, and then you just remember, yes, that is why Fauci's been able to lie to us to wear masks. That's why Biden was able to steal an election. You forget how dumb people are. I mean, I took one look at that cup of coffee, and I knew you couldn't lift it without burning your hands. And this is a 60-year-old man. He should have enough experience with moving cups of coffee to realize that if you fill it over the lid and then you go to move the cup, it's going to spill on your hand. So I'm just reporting from the field as a newly Americanized countrywide traveler that you should be aware of how stupid people really are, because you forget. You live in areas like New York, you interact with other people who are working, I guess these more professional jobs, and you forget that there's adults who wouldn't be able to put the triangle into the little triangle shape. Here's another thing that I realized. If I ran an airplane, I would take out the last rows of chairs. Most of the flights that I've been on, the last row would be either 4 across or 6 across. So you got some planes that are wide enough that there's one, aisle, and then there's 3 on one side of the plane, 3 on the other, or 2 and 2. So if you just removed the last row of seats, right, you're either taking away 6 seats from the plane or you're taking away 4 seats. Now, most of the flights that I've been taking at the moment are about $250 both ways. Let's even go conservative. Let's say $200 each way to keep our math simple. So let's go with the flight of 6 seats in the back row, right? So if you've got 6 seats, $100 a seat, you just lost $600 by taking that out. Now I'm eyeballing that on most of these commercial flights, it's about 300 seats. So what's 600 divided by 300? What is it, like $2 a seat or something? So for an extra $2 a seat, they could put a bathroom in there that we could all shit in. Is my math right, or am I? Yeah, 300 times 2 is 600. Yeah, simple enough. For $2 extra from every other individual traveler on the flight, they would have enough space to put big, glamorous bathrooms that we could all take shits in. Please, let me know if I'm incorrect on my analysis here, but I feel like that would be my airline commercial is, unlike the other airlines, you can shit here. We've got a bathroom with plenty of space. You want to fornicate in here? You're in the middle of your flight and you just want to spend 10 minutes putting on makeup, brushing your teeth. You want a spacious bathroom because you're too nervous to sit down next to the person next to you? Well, welcome to Friendly Diarrhea Airlines, where you can get up out of your seat. We'll feed you meals on the flight. We don't care. We don't care what you eat. We don't care how much you got to shit, because unlike these other airlines that for a measly $2 won't let you take a shit here, we've got the good. Maybe that should just be the airline, like paint across the side the way Southwest says Southwest. It would just be like, we got the good shitters. That might be too long, or just like Shits Airlines or Shitters or Shits Away. I don't know. I'll come up with a better title. I didn't think this through fully. I was more in the math analysis to think of the name. I wasn't thinking of marketing yet. First, I just crunched the numbers. I wanted to make sure that the numbers would work out. You'd have to be a ballerina to pinch off a loaf in one of these bathrooms. I'd almost like to see a dude get up from his seat and he starts stretching and everyone turns around out of their seat and are like, dude, he's going for it. He's going to go. I think he's going to take a shit in that bathroom. And, everyone, like, they look at their clocks. By the way, I've had to wait long enough. No shame on some individuals. It's great when you're just, like, looking at the stewardess. Stewardess is looking at you. You're looking at her. And you both just know that there's some dude in there who actually had the balls to take a shit in that bathroom. And you can't even be mad as much as you got to respect it. You got to be like, that's pretty good. I want to talk about the middle bar. Because I got stuck next to this gigantically tall guy, and the current system is basically the bar between you and the person next to you is going to go to whoever's the bigger asshole or whoever's the fatter person. Now, I'm willing to, if you're so fat that it's obvious that you're going to need that bar, because if you got to support the weight of your own arm, you might you might have a heart attack right on the flight. I get it. You're going to need that thing. Or if you're such a gigantically tall person that you're going to need it, I can respect that as well. But I think that otherwise it shouldn't just go to the bigger prick. I think right off the top of the flight, you should be able to work out an agreement with the person sitting next to you. Either it's rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. Maybe you go odds and even. Maybe you go thumb war. I don't know what your particular game is. I don't know what you're skilled at. Maybe you've been practicing rocks, paper, shoot, so that's the game you want to go with. I'm just thinking there needs to be a more civilized system than just who's the bigger prick gets to take it. The other thing I was thinking of is there's certain individuals that we all know that you don't want to sit onto a flight. Obviously, gigantically fat and smelly people, that comes to the top of your mind. You don't want to have to sit next to a gigantically fat or smelly person. We all get that. I've realized, though, that I might be one of the worst people to sit next to on a flight, and it's something that I've never heard anyone else talk about, and maybe it's because I'm a rare breed, but that's the fidgety people. The person that will sit next to you and go, you know what, I want my laptop out. Actually, I don't want to look at my laptop. You know what, maybe my laptop will work. Nah, I don't really feel like doing work. You know what, I don't feel like sitting in the seat anymore. Let me go to the bathroom for a couple minutes. You can't even shit in that bathroom. I'll sit back in my seat. Fuck, I can't fall asleep. You know what, maybe I should wear the seatbelt. Actually, I don't like wearing the seatbelt. Oh, look, they put the seatbelt line on. Yeah, but I just unbuckled it, and the guy just saw me unbuckle it. Yeah, but the seatbelt light is on. All right, I'll put the seatbelt. Oh, look, they took the seatbelt light off. I can take the seatbelt out live. Maybe I should read this book. I brought the book with me. Let me read the book. Oh, if I'm going to read the book, maybe I should turn that light on. You know what? That light's too bright. I don't really like the light on when I'm reading it. Oh, no, it's too dark. Let me put that light back on. Ooh, look, there's a little air vent. Maybe if I turn the air vent on, this flight will be a little bit better. Oh, you know what? That's a little too much air vent. Let me lower the air vent. Ooh, I think that's the right amount of air vent, but now I don't like the light. You know what? Now that the light's off, I don't even really feel like reading the book. Wait, what was on my computer? Maybe I could actually get that editing done. Shit, how do you get onto this Wi-Fi? I feel bad. I just put my computer back out, but it's not my fault that the Wi-Fi is not working. So, let me put the computer back down. Let me try and go to sleep. Oh, fuck, I can't fall asleep. Let me try and use the bathroom again. That's what's sitting next to me on a flight. And now, I always book an aisle seat because if I got the inside seat and I got to fucking fidget around like that while someone's on the outside seat, because I don't know how much you're allowed to, I go to the bathroom on flights just to get out of my chair. I don't even need a pee. I just, need to not have to sit down anymore. I wish they had a standing section or just, the ADD section, but I just realized I had a little moment of self-awareness where I was like, I was going in and out of my backpack multiple times. I was like, I gotta suck to sit next to. But then on my ride back, I sat next to a hot chick and she was sleeping in these cat-like poses, which was pretty terrible. She had her knee going on. It's I'm already trying not to touch you. There's social etiquette here, but now you're over the line. I feel like if you violate that little barricade between seats, I now own your leg. Your leg is in my seat. It's in my airspace. So that, maybe, all right, I don't need to sound too creepy here. But you know the way, everyone in the world sleeps unless you're a hot chick, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, you like sleeping with your knee in the air and your butt kind of draped over. It's they really want to let you know what you're not allowed to have. I don't know what it is, but hot women, they got a different way of Sleeping. All right, the other thing is there was a ton of turbulence on this flight, and you know they always come on with their announcement. I would love it if you're on a flight and you heard this announcement. It's like, this is your pilot speaking. There's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride up ahead. I just wanted to let you guys know that that's not turbulence. I just have shaky hands. I honestly put in for an early retirement, but the company is not that favorable, and as I've been working this job for 50 years, apparently you still have to do it if you've got arthritis, so just bear with me. It might be shaky, and once again, that's not turbulence. I just have terrible hands. And two more random thoughts from the road. One is, you know, some hotels, they try and guilt you by putting up that little sign about how if you reuse your towels, blah, 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 the environment. I'm using all the towels. I don't care how many towels you put in that bathroom. I don't get fresh towels in my apartment. The biggest luxury of being in a hotel is that you got towels. So I'm using all the towels. I'm going to use one towel on my wiener. I'm going to use one towel on my pinky toe. I'm not even going to use the pinky towel to dry the floor. There's a wet floor there. I'm going to throw it on all your towels, call down to the lobby and tell them, hey, you got to come up here with some more towels. So they can just stop. Does anyone fall for that guilt trip? The little sign, like, I'm in your hotel for the towels. You got fluffy, clean towels, and I'm using every single one of the towels. Another product I'd like to see is the other day, there's like a little, when I'm too lazy to exercise and I don't want to go to the gym, not far from my house, they got little trails, and I'll go for a little fat boy walk. And that's when you're too lazy to exercise. So you just, you walk on the trail, you look at some trees, and you convince yourself that you got your cardio on. At least you didn't just sit on the couch all day. So I'm going, and in the summer months, it gets really buggy out. So I have bug spray I keep in my car, and I went to spray my hat, and so I took my hat off my head, and I put the hat in front of me, and then I went to spritz it, and I spritzed the bug spray right into my eye. Like, right out of Dumb and Dumber, I had the bug spray pointed in the wrong direction, it went right into my eye. I had to go home, I had to wash my eye out, and this is on the back of what I just did in Seattle. This is why I have to save money. I can't afford to take vacations because I know that I'm going to have a number of putz incidents every year, which is why I wish they would create like some sort of a putz insurance where if you're a putz, you know, it's like your health insurance. You just kind of put some money in every year. And when you have these incidents, you know, where you're just a total fucking putz, it pays out. Here's another one. I only have one shelf in my bathroom and it's above my toilet. And I'd like to get reimbursed for all my toiletries that fall into the toilet. It's like raindrops. They just kind of fall off the shelf. They go right into the toilet. I'm almost amazed. I've accumulated more toiletries over the year. That's like one of my luxury goods. What are women doing? What do you do when you, like, ladies, how do you fly? How do you get all of your makeup from place to place? Because, like, now I'm at the stage, not that I got makeup, but I got hemorrhoid cream. I've been sneaking hemorrhoid creams onto flights. I actually shove it up my ass. It's actually a convenient item to try and get through TSA because it feels nice within your butthole. What I do is I don't put the tube up there. I squeeze out the entire tube into my anus, and then, like, I'll kind of squeeze it back out into the tube. And then as I need it, I'll put it back up my asshole. And then it actually works better if it's already been in your asshole previously, because then it like absorbs some of the natural essential oils from your asshole and activates more of what's inside. This is ridiculous. But, you know, I'm just trying to get more insight from the 10 people that listen to the show. So that's the best way to figure out what other people on this planet are doing. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I seem to have accumulated more toiletries, like suntan lotion even. Like, I don't want to land into a new town, and I gotta get, like, the first thing now you gotta do is you gotta go buy your suntan lotion, you gotta go buy your powder for your face, you gotta go buy, I don't know, you gotta buy your mascara. Maybe all ladies' makeup, they actually come in, like, smaller tubes. I guess there's no, like, lipstick that you wouldn't be able to get on a plane. But I feel like, also, why aren't hotels stocking antibacterial soap? Is that just me being a germaphobe that drives me nuts every single hotel that I'm in? like, amidst a pandemic, which I don't believe in, you guys can't upgrade to liquid soap. I have to have that shitty fucking bar of soap that now I gotta wash my hands after I shit, and then it's the same one that you got for the shower. That bullshit where you gotta stand there and go, happy birthday to me, are my hands germ-free? Shit, I think I need to wash my hands again. And then you go and wash your hands again, and then you go, I think I said the song too quickly. I think I sang the song too quickly. I think I sang the song too quickly, so my hands still have germs on them. And if I touch my eye, I'm going to get pink eye. And then you leave the bathroom, and then usually you would only come back and wash your hands once more. But since it was the shitty soap, it's just on your hands it's just on your mind all day that you didn't use the antibacterial soap. And like I said, there's nothing worse than sitting next to a putsy shifty fellow on a plane. All right, enough about why I'm a terrible human person, and let's get into the news. It's enough ragging on me. Let's get into these other people. Trump had to shut down his blog because reading and writing on a daily basis was just a little bit too much work for him. From the guy who claimed that, he was going to make America great again, he couldn't even consistently commit to a blog. A blog. I'm a weekly on a podcast. I feel like grandmas are getting off a daily blog, and he decided to launch his website from the desk of Donald Trump. The genius who's gonna fix everything. He couldn't even keep his weekly blog, and people were criticizing this for him, but he said that, listen, I was enjoying the blog, and it was the best blog, okay? Nobody's ever blogged like this ever, okay? I don't know if you had a chance to check out my blog, but this was the blog of all blogs, okay? Other people looked at this blog, and they felt sad for their blogs. But the reason he stopped writing the blog is he's got to get ready. He's being reinstated. He's 2 months away from Joe Biden realizing, listen, I was in over my head. I thought it was a good idea to rig the election, but really, this is too much. The Russians are getting off of our currency. The thing's collapsing, and the only thing that will be able to save us from this situation is Donald Trump. So Donald Trump doesn't have time for a blog. He's got to prepare for round 2 of, being a failure of a president. All right, and then here's a couple of random headlines that articles I didn't read, but I'm going to give my opinion just based off the headline. So firstly is there was Texas voting melodrama. Apparently the Democrats walked out of the room before they could vote because you need a certain amount of, from my understanding, you need like a certain amount of individuals in the room, even if they're going to vote against you. So they left, I think the word was a quorum, which I think now with the next time when they get together, they need to just get the votes off like a cattle auction. So everyone agrees on this? Yes. And Democrats fuck, wait, I thought we were walking out. Shit, did they just vote? Here's another headline. Vice President Harris' team tries to distance her from fraught situation at the border, which is great. Someone being like, listen, put me in charge, but just nothing important. If it's anything important or that you can actually track or measure performance, I want nothing to do to that. Maybe you can give me something like the committee, to make sure that kids are less hungry. We're going to research it. It's the research committee for making kids less hungry. It's not even about making kids less hungry. It's just that we're going to research if there's a way that we could make them less hungry. And that seems like a good thing, that she's the head of the researching making people less hungry, as opposed to throwing people, onto floors and encouraging them to come to the country without any arrangements, And they don't even give them clear guidance on how they can vote for Democrats. I mean, that's the reason why they're recruiting them here. You'd think at least once they got over the border, there'd be some paperwork and they would just say, here's your marching orders. Here's how you should approach this. Okay, last headline is Jeff Bezos' bio makes a bombshell claim about the alleged Saudi role in the purported penis pic. And here's what you got to do. If you're Jeff Bezos and you know that some Saudi Arabian penis pic of yours is coming out, you just got to get ahead of it and put out your own penis pic first. Everyone's got a penis pic at that one angle where it's like Indiana Jones, where it hits the light on the thing and then the thing go, you know what I mean? We've all got that one angle pic. Childerberg, someone took a picture of me. I look fucking jacked. I'm not that good looking. I mean, my face looked terrible, but I look fucking yoked, dude. You get pictures at the right angle. I had to hire a penis picture professional that they knew the lighting, they knew the angles, and then you got some lady wants a penis pic, you send it right to her, and then you're going to disappoint her when you hang out. But for that one picture, you're in. That looks like a glorious penis picture. And if you can't hire a professional to help you out, what you got to do is you got to just take a lot of pictures, and it's a volume game. You take enough pictures of that penis, at some point you're going to be able to get that lens at an angle where you're like, holy shit, all right, that looks good. That's the winner. That's the one that's going to, get her to realize, hey, that guy's personality sucks, but he does have a hell of a wiener. And so if you're Jeff Bezos, I'm telling you, you just got to get ahead of this Saudi Arabian one, or, maybe like hire Chris Hemsworth or someone to come over to your house and you get him to get like sucked off from your girlfriend, but like you just take the picture of just the dick and then you pretend like that was your wiener. Or you're Jeff Bezos. You got to be able to hire people who can put your face onto, somebody else's body or something. I'm just saying, you got to get ahead of the market. You don't want people leaking terrible penis pictures. If you can get ahead of it and flood the market with good penis pictures so that people don't realize. And if you're nervous about the way your junk looks, all you got to do is go to sheathunderwear.com. That's all it takes. If you're wearing a pair of Sheath, firstly, it's comfortable. It's great in the summer months. You can separate your dick from your balls. All that good stuff. I wear it every time I go for a bike ride. It is essential for keeping things in place, avoiding chafing, and enjoying your ride. So go to sheathunderwear.com. It will also make your wiener look better if you're taking, penis pics while wearing the sheath. Once you take off the sheath, that's up to you. That's between you and whatever God decided to put between your legs. But while you're wearing the sheath, that's somewhat on the sheath, people. Putting together a product that's going to make your junk look a little bit better. Just go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code. That's it. You got to put in the letters, however you personally spell out burp. RYM. And guess what? You're going to get 20% off. And now we are going to hang out with the man himself, Jacob Lindsay from Tasting Anarchy, who put Childerberg together. And it's going to be a little post-Childerberg recap show. We're going to talk about some of the highlights, some of the good times, some of the plans. And thanks for hanging with me. That is the episode. All right, so Mr. Anarchy, I have you on because I want to do the post-Childerberg recap show here. Let people know what they missed out on and what they can expect from next year. So first, let's start from this past year. You were actually running around as the Childa guys taught me. You were anchoring the vibe. You were running around. You were making sure everyone was having a good time. But why don't you give us the recap of how you feel it went?
Yeah, I think it went really well. I mean, it was way bigger than I kind of expected. I planned for 80 people, and I think that after talking to the people at the distillery and stuff like that, we had about 200 of our people at the distillery, and then there's probably 50 or 60 other people. Maybe they said it was a little bit under 300 total, and then. But when I first got there to Muleshoe Bend, where we have the camping, I expect, so I usually get, Childerberg starts on Saturday, but I usually get there Friday so that I can kind of like get things going and make sure everything's like set up and everything for the next day. And we arrived late because I went and picked up Howie Snowden from Lions of Liberty at the airport and brought him to the campsite, and his flight got delayed and stuff because there was a big storm. And when we got there, it had been raining pretty hard, but cleared up by the time we got there. And there was like 40 people there already. And I was like, I text Carr and was like, dude, there's already 40 people here. This is going to be a wild year. And I had not planned for that at all. We didn't really have the camp space for it, but the ranger came by. This is actually a little bit different this year than previous years because the ranger kept coming by because we had too many people. And he comes by, and like anytime, like this is my recommendation to people, at least white people, when you see somebody like a cop or whatever, instead of letting them come over to you, go up to them. And and so like I saw him pull up, and I just kind of waved at him and like walked over, and then he got out and did the cop thing where they put their thumbs in their bulletproof vest, and he's like, well, you guys got a lot of cars here. And I was like, yeah, but I have enough spots. I lied. I have enough spots for everybody. We just are all here right now, but we'll spread out later. And he goes, okay, well, when you have this many people, you need a land permit. And I was like, I didn't know I needed a land permit or anything like that.
The best part about this is the reason why you go out to the woods is to feel some freedom and be away from cops. And then it's amazing when they're driving by just because they know people are going there to not have to see them. And it's like, oh, so what are you guys doing while you're away from everyone else? What do you come out here for? You going to do some drugs over there by your tent?
They were, I mean, yes, and they know it, but but nothing too obvious. So I mean, he didn't give a shit.
I gotta say kudos because I mean, it's funny how long I've been doing comedy for. Like I almost don't realize how long I've been doing comedy for, but like at this point I've been doing this 10 years. So I'm not new to comedy. And while I haven't traveled or done as much gigs, even as I'd like to have done at this point in my career, it's still, I've done a fair amount. And I have to say that what you guys put together is the most fun I've had on the road yet. Like it was really a blast. I am definitely in for it for next year. And I think part of what makes it so much fun is that it's not, I mean, as a libertarian, I hate showing up somewhere, having to check in with the guy and then get your festival pass. And then there's this, and then there's the ticket. You guys are just, hey, you can show up and hang out here. And there's no, hey, this is the artist here. I was just there, same as everyone. We're all just fucking hanging out. Scott Horton sitting outside of his pickup truck. Howie Snowden's walking around. Me and Buck are just hanging out. Everyone's just fucking hanging out, having a good time. And just being outdoors like that around as many like-minded individuals was an absolute blast.
Yeah, well, that's sort of my philosophy in general about organizing. Yeah, I've done a lot of event organizing. I used to run a comic, or I used to like help run a Comic Con, and I did the Young Libertarians when I lived in Virginia. So like my philosophy for organizing has always been, my responsibility is just to get the ball rolling and then make sure that people know what's going on, and everything else is the people who are having fun responsibility. It doesn't take a lot of work to make people have fun. They'll do it on their own because nobody wants to be bored. And the only responsibility is like the organizer is to make sure that fun is facilitated. So you just get the ball rolling. Everybody else will figure it out on their own. And that's it's sort of one of those like spontaneous order things that we talk about in anarchist circles all the time, is people will figure it out. They don't really need a leader. Nobody has to tell you how to have fun or where to be at particular times or anything like that. People will gravitate to where they want to be. So everybody wanted to go and see you do comedy. So like there was a lot of people who were not particularly interested in the music, but I think they missed out. But there was a lot of people who were also kind of on the flip side. They're not super.
Let's plug that Bland, because I was so impressed by them. I have their album. I'm looking forward to a long car drive to put it in, and I've heard that their lyrics are heavily like poetic liberty stuff. But definitely
it's an excellent band.
Dude, I listened to a lot of music and I was vibing. Like it was, they were great. I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
They're super good. They're Owen Glass and the Palace Saints, and really excellent band, excellent liberty message. The music is just really good.
Dude, they jam. Yeah. The guitar player's great. The whole band kind of flows. The lead singer's got a good voice. It clicks.
Yeah, and you'll like the album too, because they were actually missing one piece of their band. The saxophone wasn't there. So like there's like saxophone solos in it and stuff. It's really cool. Like it's a really great band. And they're from up here in Dallas. And I heard them on, actually one of the other musical acts that was there this year was Nikki P. And he used to have a show called Sounds Like Liberty, where he would have just libertarians come and talk about music and stuff like that. And he had Owen Glass on. And when I heard they were in Dallas, kind of was how it clicked in my mind. I was like, oh, they're up here. Maybe they want to come down to Childeberg. So I reached out to them and was like, you guys want to come play? And they were like super into it. And it was, you're right. Like their music is phenomenal. The once you like start listening to the lyrics, like, because you know how like music, sometimes you don't hear the lyrics so much, you just kind of are jamming to the music. But then after a little while, you start hearing the lyrics. The lyrics are very, very libertarian. And then there was also another guy who I wasn't planning on having him, but we made room in the show. His name's Quasi. He's from LA, and he's got just an awesome voice. He's an EDM artist, but he just did acoustics for this show, and everybody was like super impressed by it. And again, I didn't know him or anything. I had heard him on Erase the State podcast, who's also a Childeberg attendee.
You might want to clarify that was Erase the State, not Racist State.
No, Erase the State. Yeah, Erase the State with Maddie K from PA, and he was at Childeberg as well. And somehow he met up with this guy and then told him, hey, if we do music at Childeberg, you want to reach out to Jake? And he reached out to me, and I was like, I don't know anything about your music. He sent me a bunch of links, but I was like, that's fine. You can just play. Like, anybody who wants to play could play. And that worked out really well. Everybody was super impressed with that. And then we had 4 comedians, you know, 2 of them, and then you met Brian and Micah while you were there. Micah, again, he's local to here. I thought he was a very good opener. Brian, I thought, was great. And that was what was cool about Brian too, was I went and saw him. He opened for Shane Gillis here in Fort Worth not too long ago. And I thought he would just kind of redo that set, but all of the material in this, except for one bit, was new. I had never heard it before. And which is cool, which means he's got a pretty big set. Like he could have easily done, 35, 40 minutes or something if he had, included all of his stuff. Then Kyle crushed it, and then you crushed it, and everybody was just laughing their asses off. The venue was super stoked because the venue also, this was the first time we had been there, and like it was kind of difficult to get them to let me do it. And but I was like,
I'm sure
trust
they
me.
put up. I'm sure they put up good numbers, and for next year, you should demand a piece of the bar.
I could do that. I was also kind of thinking if what I might try to do next year, and you'll probably know a little bit more about this, is to try to get it to be an hour later, so that we can kind of shift the time to a slightly cooler part of the day because it was really hot.
And people were drinking whiskey, which made it a little bit of a battle where it's like you're outdoors in the Texas summer, like basically desert. It's like fucking desert environment. Yeah. I mean, it's not like sand, but you know what I mean? It's like,
it's dry,
trees.
It's hot.
It's just fucking dry and hot. And people are just pounding whiskey all day in the blazing heat, which kudos to them. And it definitely meant that it had to be more of like a yelly set, which is fine. I've done enough comedy where it's like, I'm going to have to fucking yell at these people. Yeah. And I'm good with hecklers, so I didn't mind the people up front giving me some shit. It was fun to duke it out with them a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I think the move for next year will be to more just declare like 6 to 8 show, and then if people want to come there and hang out all day, they can. But like just declare like set hours for the show and have it a little more targeted.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like I learned a lot this year because it was so much bigger than previous years. I mean, like our Childeberg 1 was like 30 people, maybe 35. Childeberg 2 was
growth. Doesn't growth just get your dick so hard?
It was really cool. Yeah. Childeberg 2 was like 40 people, maybe 45. And then, we were expecting more, but then the whole COVID thing, and we got shifted to 4 different campsites because of COVID. So that's the one we ended up at. That's how we discovered that place. And I thought it was a good place. So we just stayed. We're probably going to go there. We're probably going to go there next year. I actually already, as soon as I got home, I got back on track for planning for Childeberg 4. I've got 2 bands booked, and I've got the land use permit in process. So I should be able to have that side of the campground that we were on. I should be able to get that entire area. So it'll just be Childeberg, and well, maybe kind of set things up a little bit differently just to make it. There was like a couple of things that I think would make things better if there was like some kind of, I would say, more designated hangout spots and more designated sleeping areas. Right. Because one of the problems, well, they didn't say it was a problem, but I perceived it to be a problem, was that Owen Glass and Nikki P I put them in a quiet area because they had kids, but it was so far away from where all the action was happening. It just kind of made it difficult for them to participate. Right. And I'd like them to be able to participate a little bit. So if there was kind of more of a middle ground, I'd like to be able to do something like that. But I've been on Twitter all day for the last couple of days and listening to people's podcasts that they've been putting out, from just recording afterward and recording during. Slurp Gang put out their live podcast. Carr and Bird recorded a post because Bird got stuck here in Dallas because of the weather. So he was able to hang out here with Carr for a little while. They put out an episode. Although Carl will probably be mad at me that I said Dallas. Fort Worth. He got stuck in Fort Worth. So, all right. But nobody's had a bad thing to say yet, and I've gotten so many offers to help out next year, which I think is definitely going to be needed. Yeah. Because like doing it myself, it actually wasn't that difficult so far. But if it grows that much any bigger, like one of the things that's the most difficult running it is running up and down the campsite, trying to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. So like I would run down to the one side and be like, because we had this year,
you're going to need the volunteers and walkie-talkie system.
Exactly. Yeah. So this year we had a volunteer catering group, to a couple.
And what was you got to remind me, the beers I was drinking there were delicious, and was also a fan who showed up with cases. Do you
Luke's? Yeah, it was. I can look it up. I can't remember what he called it, but it's got like on the logo, it's got, or were you talking about the mead, or were you talking about,
No, hold on. I probably have
homebrew?
the business card. Let's give the guy the shout out. Was it
Rough
Tail Brewing?
Rough Tail?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rough Tail.
So, I mean,
yeah.
he had a couple really good IPAs, and also I love it when it's just all community type thing that a fan of the event just showed up with fucking pallets of beers, and now there's free beers for everybody. Like, I just love the feel of that.
Well, and what's cool about that too is he put like a little donation jar, and all of the donations that we collected went to Free Ross. And because that's kind of how we try to push all of our anything above the cost of the event. Because I'm going to do this a little bit differently next year because it was a little bit too expensive for me to float it all year long. But what I've done in the past is just kind of floated it myself and then expected it to be made up later on. This year that was a little bit difficult, so I think we're going to try to do some front loading of the funding so that instead of breaking even the day before, I can actually like break even a little bit as we go.
I think it's cool, the free nature of it. Yeah. I think with a small price tag for some of the stuff that's going on, it's not going to prevent anyone from coming or thinking it's like an unbelievable, worthwhile venture. So I'll help you with this for next year in terms of like just putting up the Eventbrite links and kind of promoting it. But I think just in terms of kind of covering costs, I'll just say getting people like me paid and everyone who's coming out, who's traveling, like it's worthwhile and it's worth it for the fans. And the people are coming out if it's the difference between, hey, I showed up for free or I had to spend $20 on top of the camping pass for $4. It's not going to be make or break. And then it also removes you from like being panicked for 6 months of, are the donations going to mean that like I don't have to tell my girlfriend I don't have the mortgage money or whatever. I don't know what your lifestyle is. So that's not going to be crazy to facilitate. I'm curious to know because it rains different in Texas. Like when it rains here and it can rain heavy, but when it's raining in Jesus Christ, it's like fucking Noah's Ark type situation.
Well, this time of year, especially,
So I wasn't out there at all when it was like crazy, but I can't even imagine how the people were dealing with it. So what, they just go mudsliding to just become Woodstock? Everyone got naked and just didn't give a shit. What actually happened while it was torrential?
I mean, usually the thing is, even when it's torrential, it's still warm. So, the biggest concern is your camping gear getting wet. So usually what people do is just kind of, they'll throw their camping gear in the car or they'll try to get a tarp over it or something like that. And then they'll just pile into a car and just wait it out. I mean, you can be out in it if you've got your swimsuit on or something like that. You can just hang out and because it's not cold, it's just wet. But so this is kind of the catch-22 about when we do it. We do it, Memorial Day weekend every year. It's the last kind of mild temperature of the year is around then.
It's also a little rainy.
And it's also rainy. So, it's like if I had pushed it out into June, it would just be too hot. If I did it a little bit earlier, it would be raining more. So it's kind of one of those kind of
the sweet spot for Texas.
Yeah. And it's usually it doesn't rain consistently. It's usually in the mornings or evenings. It'll rain and then it'll clear up. It's a Gulf state, so it's we get those kind of weird weather stuff. But the lucky part is that it's not cold. So if you get rained on, you'll dry out pretty quickly, and your stuff usually dries out pretty fast too. This year it was when some of the people first arrived, they were putting up videos and stuff like that. It was crazy. It was like a deluge. And then, but as soon as I got there, everything was fine. And we were able to,
for next year, we got to bring a slip and slide, dude, and just get it going when it's raining.
For sure.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, we got that entire side, so we can do all sorts of cool stuff like that. So, I think we'll do some more kind of like yard events and things like that, and people will enjoy it. I mean, it's been awesome. It's been really, really rewarding to organize it because just seeing it kind of grow. And then also we raised $1,400 for Free Ross this year, which was really, really good. And like people keep contributing like cool things to auction off or do raffles for. So like this year, the Empress of Memes on Twitter, or I think that she's Small Crimes right now on Twitter. I think that she changed her handle, but she made this really cool Free Ross quilt that we included in a 50-50 raffle. And then Rollo traditionally does, you met Rollo, or no, you weren't there when Rollo was there. Rollo got there the next day. But Rollo McFlugel, a Bitcoin guy on Twitter, real involved in the Liberty community. He's a cool dude. And he traditionally makes a fruit cake. And then we do a 50-50 raffle for the fruit cake. And it's not like a shit fruit cake. It's actually a pretty good one. So we do a 50-50 for that. This year, Peaceful Treason, Jared and Will, which you talked to quite a bit, actually, I think, at the distillery. Because Will's like real into comedy. I go with him all the time to the Hyenas here whenever somebody good's coming in town. He and Jared did a growler that they auctioned off, and then then we had what else did we have? Luke, he made his home brews and brought them, and then Roughtail also brought beer for donation. We raised some money on that. I also got like weird payments for things, like somebody was like buying stuff in silver, so I've got a whole bunch of silver, which is kind of cool. I'm very, very libertarian.
I forgot, I did a gig recently. Maybe it was even that same gig. Someone handed me a silver coin. I just thought that was so fucking cool. I love getting a silver coin. I love that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
So let's talk personal highlights. I'll let you go first. I definitely have some personal highlights from being there. So I'll let you go first. What your like personal highlights of the of this year's Childerberg was?
My personal highlights are always after the event and seeing people talk about it online. It makes me so happy to see people had a good time and met, a lot of people in our sort of like Liberty groups or whatever. I wouldn't say that they're isolated necessarily. They usually have their own friend groups, but their friend groups are not interested in this type of stuff. And then the other side of that is that a lot of our guys, there are conferences and stuff for them to go to. And I wouldn't say that they're boring, but they're extremely academic usually. And I think that everybody needs a break from basically going to a conference where they're hearing the same thing on stage. Exactly. It's got to be fun. It's like you've got to have fun at least once a year. It's a good way to kick off the summer. And just seeing that people had a good time, that people who are typically very introverted, they go back out online afterwards and they're like, look, I'm usually not great in social settings, but I made a lot of friends and I had a really good time. I think it's really, really healthy for people, and also good for the movement for people to like manifest friendship in real life and not just be online all the time. And that's I think the most rewarding part about it.
Awesome. So I gotta say, actually meeting a lot of people that I've interacted with online in person, including yourself, including Carr, including Bird, that was a thrill. Doing the live podcast, which we did in the morning, and I wish you had been around for that. I know I texted you, but I think I
had no reception.
Oh, okay, there you go. It's all
absolutely no reception there.
That I was surprised how much fun I had with that. The reason being, what I learned, and this is just from like a performance perspective, when I'm doing stand up, it's like I'm like working. It's like being on a sales call. I dial it up. I'm pacing around. I'm yelling. I got my jokes memorized. I'm thinking at a level 14. And I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
I discovered I don't think I could live podcast solo because I do a certain style of free ranting and loose affiliation that I at least think at the moment I wouldn't feel comfortable enough doing it, that like I wouldn't quite go down the thought tunnels that I do when I'm alone. I think the same way you're like, and here's the way I'll put it to you. Sometimes you drive in a car and you're alone and you're just fucking weird because you're alone. Right. And you kind of enjoy that. I'm almost portraying that side of myself when I podcast solo. And I do think that's fun for me. And I also think that the audience like listening to that. I don't know that if I was standing in front of a room of people, if I would actually quite go down that like silly tunnel or quite I don't know. I might get to a point where I'm good enough in it that I can do it live. But this case, I was live. I was live podcasting with for the first half. It was both Carr and Bird, and then the second half we had on Guy Swan. And what I discovered of the live podcasting is that, unlike, dude, stand-up comedy is my favorite thing in the world, and more than anything, it's actually sitting at my home and crafting, which I could in a second I'll explain to you what the thrill of that is. But the thrill of the live podcast was that I didn't like, it wasn't like I was on. We were just hanging out, right? But the fact that like the audience is there, if you find funny, they laugh, and then you like first you get that reward of their laughing, and then you get to like tag it up. So it's kind of best of both worlds because you're just relaxing, having a conversation, but it's a little bit heightened because you got the crowd there. And then if people do laugh, like you're like, oh shit, they're laughing at that. And you kind of like, as a comic, like, you know how to like kind of like lean in and tag it up. And so I've never quite been in that groove of just total comfort where it's like, you're not really performing, but like there's still the live element. And if there's laughs in the moment, so I absolutely, that was a fucking thrill. But the biggest thrill of the whole thing, and I hope I don't offend anyone here, but fucking Guy Swan, I could listen to him forever.
Cool. Yeah.
Dude, I want to go down to Virginia. Just being around him in 10 minutes, the amount of information that I can absorb. He's one of the rare people, which is he's both incredibly knowledgeable, but the way he presents what he knows is insightful and interesting to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah. He's probably the best read Bitcoiner I've ever interacted with. He's a great follow on Twitter. I think he's Bitcoin Audible, I think is his
but
thing.
Also, he's got the financial topics. You can hit him on anything, and he's got a handle
yeah, he
on
knows. It. Yeah, he's a smart dude. He's really cool. Yeah, he's great. I mean, there was a lot of really cool. Like, I mean, from our
way, that's what I got to tell you. That's one of my for next year. I want to camp one night so I can do an extra day. I feel like my only regret was that there were a lot of interesting podcasters and just people that were hanging out there. And because I was like the one night I was just there for 2 hours, and then the next day I showed up to do the podcast. So it was all just kind of like handshake, say hello, kind of get out of the conversation.
Yeah.
I'd like to be there for like a full day so I can really just sit down and bullshit with people and not feel like I got to like meet, you know what I mean? Like kind of, even though I'm ADD, so I don't mind getting in and out of a conversation in 2 minutes. Like that's the way I normally am. But I do feel like I shook hands with a lot of people that would have been interesting to talk to for longer, but I just really wasn't there that long.
Did you get a chance to talk to Anthony Samaroff?
You know, sometimes I know people by their Twitter handles or shows better than like their actual names.
He does a Scottish Liberty podcast, and he had Anthony Samaroff week on Tom Wood's show. So he had a whole week on Tom Wood's. I think I definitely met
him. Yeah. I think we had a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And he wrote a book called UBI For and Against.
Oh, okay. I kind of, I didn't have much of a conversation with him, but I did see a guy walking around with the book.
Yeah, so
it looked like he was trying to sell stuff, so I mostly ignored him. Yeah. But maybe I missed out on that one.
He was. I mean, he's a really cool dude too. What was kind of neat about this year is I've sort of indirectly known him a little bit online, and then we went out to dinner when he had a layover here in Dallas one time, and I didn't know him super well, but I've always kind of like in my mind, and he said a lot of people kind of had this sort of same impression. Although I listened to his podcast from time to time, so I had a little bit more knowledge of him, but. A lot of people kind of thought he was kind of like more in the like academic wing of like the liberty movement and stuff like that. And he is, because he's a super smart guy, but he's also just fun. Like he's just fun to be around. He's really goofy.
So I fucked up on that guy. I saw the title of his book with Universal Basic Income. Yeah. And I'm like, what's the socialist guy doing here? So I guess it must be some sort of an ironic title, or he's got a more intelligent spin on it.
Yeah. So basically what the book's really good. It's basically he steelmans the UBI, and then he says why that doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
That's basically so he's trying to argue both sides.
That's exactly what I'm describing of I need to be a little, if I had more time, I probably would have been, especially before a show. You know what it was? He kind of walked over before the show, and like before a show, I'm like half ignoring people, not quite. Like I'm walking around, but like I'm still like kind of in the zone. I don't know. It's like if you caught someone before an important meeting, like, and they're just feel a little bit rushed and trying to get out of a conversation. That's what it is. It's not like I'm being a dick. I'm just like kind of aware of the fact that I'm doing a show in a bit.
Well, so you're doing a show, and for you, that's work. Like you're doing a job. Like, so you're just like, look, I gotta do
I
this
love it. I mean,
job.
It's the job that I love. Yeah. Right. Like, so I'm there to do it, and I love doing it, but I still like that's the other thing. Everyone wants to like pound drinks with you, and you're like, that's an after the show activity. Like I'll have one before, but if I show up here at like, 4 PM in the blazing heat and I'm just getting hammered, like it's going to be a sloppy drunk show, which, I've done those, but I don't know that that's going to work for 300 people when I got to do a half hour. That's easy for 10 minutes at Times Square at 2 a.m.
Well, and both you and Kyle, like crushed it. Everybody loved it. It was super good. And, again, like I said, I was super impressed with Brian as well, and all the music, and Micah was good. I'd never seen Micah before. He's kind of new to. I wouldn't say he's new to comedy, but he's kind of rusty. But he also wanted to get back into it.
He's got a fucking look.
He does. He's got a look, and he's got a lot of good jokes, and just a really. I was super stoked that we could have all of these people, and the coolest part is that it's sort of that spontaneous order thing. Is that I invited you, and I invited Brian, and I invited Owen Glass and Nikki P, and that's it. And then just other people just sort of like added onto it, which made the show even better. So like that kind of stuff is really, really cool.
So let's talk next year.
Yeah.
So I have some ideas that I'd like to pitch you, but before I do, why don't you go first? What do you got in store for next year?
Well, I think we're going to do kind of the same thing, just bigger. We've got, I got a couple of other things I want to do. Like, so one of the things I thought would be nice is if, there's like coffee available for everybody in the morning, just something like that. Cause I was like, people are really hungover a lot of the time, or like hungover from alcohol and hungover from other things as well. Like there was, not to my knowledge until later, so I have plausible deniability or whatever, but there was quite a bit of recreational activities going on, that, kind of expected this type of thing. And people just getting just really hammered. So like maybe something to like kind of help pick them up in the morning. Then just sort of from like something from sort of a like a not logistical, but like a I don't know what the word would be for it, but like getting some of those kind of big tents for events.
So like hanging out and almost. So if it's raining,
because it does rain. At least, everybody doesn't have to like go into their cars. They can actually go into these tents.
Those actually aren't even that. Like you can even get like the massive tents. They're not that expensive to rent.
They're cheap to rent. I was looking
that's
through
actually
it.
Smart. That's really smart.
The other thing I thought about doing was instead of renting a van and busing people up and down to the distillery, is that I might get like a bus service so that
just I gotta tell you, if you're getting the tent, you might, and you're renting enough of the area.
Yeah.
If you do all that stuff earlier like almost more of like an afternoon booze day, you might be able to do it on the campgrounds.
Well, that's one of the things I asked for the campground. So they didn't know the answer to that. The lady's got to figure out because I asked her like a whole bunch of questions. I was like, what am I actually allowed to do here? And then based on her response, I'll ask if based on her response, I'll decide if I'm just going to do it anyways or not.
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff I'm probably just going to do anyways.
Right.
But I just kind of want to know what I'm, what my risk is, I guess. One of the cool things too, like they made me get this land permit for next year. Which is silly and it's free, but for some reason you have to fill out this form.
Yeah, because of the government. Whatever they can do to just make it a little annoying and remind you that they own you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's basically it. But one of the kind of like silver linings of it is that Childeberg is an LLC. So I made the company so that if somebody got hurt, I wouldn't be in trouble.
Smart.
And so, but what they're letting me do is put all of the campgrounds under Childeberg LLC so that they don't all say Lindsay on them. They just say, because my last name's Lindsay, they don't say Lindsay. They'll say Childeberg. So it's just a little more clear to people when they're looking for things.
Nice.
The other thing that I think is going to be helpful is I'm going to do something where people have to pay like $5 a night or something like that for the campsites just because of the cost, because campsites are kind of expensive. It costs for what I rented this year, it was like $1,500 or something like that for all of the sites. So if I can just kind of like negate that cost, it just makes it a lot easier. But
I'm going to help you with next year. I'm going to help you just price it out so that you know that I'm going to help you out with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll definitely talk about it because I think that is something I need to work on is pricing and because basically I want it to be a wash because anything we raise there, I want to go to Free Ross.
Right.
And if we can get to the wash faster, then it just makes the raising money easier. I'm going to probably assign people to campsites. So one of the issues that we had this year that attracted the rangers' attention and pissed off the campground was everybody set up their tents. So this was my mistake. I told everybody, meet me at campsite 30 when you get there, and I'll tell you where to go. Well, what that was interpreted as is set up at campsite 30.
Right.
And everybody set up at campsite 30. Right. Like even Scott, when Scott Horton got there, he set up, like there was just people started expanding out and he set up that wasn't our campsite. That was somebody else's campsite. Nice. And like, but you know, they didn't care. They had their own little thing, and that they like kind of set up their own compound with like ropes blocking off their area and stuff. So like I feel kind of bad about that. But next year it's not going to be as big of a deal because we're going to have that entire side probably, so there won't actually be anybody else.
I hope there's one schmuck. I hope there's one guy who managed to reserve like 2 years early and is like real uptight and just realizes, God damn it, I'm out of place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of, I got two more good moments to after we discuss like vision, but because it just reminded me of it. But yeah, I mean, so there's going to be a couple things like that I think there's just like some logistical issues that can be worked out. Like I said, I got two bands kind of lined up. One you saw was Owen Glass and the Palace Saints. They're going to come back down again next year.
Nice.
And they're good. They've got some ideas too, because I think there was some stuff that made the performers less comfortable, which you could probably help with that too. I think the stage was probably too hot for the musical acts, and that makes it like when you're trying to press the frets or what, I don't know. I'm not a musician. I don't really know what the words are, but when you're trying to like play, like if your hands get sweaty, it's hard. So
right.
I think we're going to try to do something about that, make the stage a little bit cooler. I think we might do that same venue for the music and stuff like that, but that may not work out. So if we're allowed to, I'd prefer to do it at the campsite. That way we don't actually have to get the bus to move people back and forth. We can just kind of be at the site the entire time. And there was a lot of people who didn't come over because they didn't want to load up into the van. They were already drunk, so they didn't want to drive themselves. And so there was a good 40 people who just hung out at the campsite the entire time. And I want them to be able to come out and see you and the music and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's just easier if it's at the site. So if we can somehow figure that out, I think that would be really good. I have we have some other ideas my wife and I wrote down. I would have to go through them all, but and the other thing too is getting some volunteers to kind of help out with what I was doing. So like some walkie-talkies.
You're gonna have some people, because I'm actually this way a little bit, that I'm like, I actually don't always like sitting around bullshitting, but I actually like, if I go to a party, I'm actually pretty comfortable like doing the prep work, the cleanup, working the grill. Yeah. Like I kind of like to be busy, and I'm not the only person like that. There's some people that would love nothing more than to hang out for 3 days and be the security or be the guy. Like some people are like me, like they would rather be behind the scenes running beers back and forth than like just standing there, sitting down. And then some people would love nothing more than to sit in a chair and drink a beer. Right. So I think you're going to be surprised at when you put out, hey, I'm looking for a couple of people who can help out.
Well, and already. Already.
By the way, you're also going to get some people that say, sure, I'll help out. And then they're the world's biggest putts. And you're like, you know what? Can you just go be one of the people that sits in a chair and drinks? But you're absolutely going to get some good volunteers.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And the the DFW crew up here is really good, and a lot of them are volunteering to help out. And the guy who made mead, Agora Brewing, he's going to help out with some of the planning. Cotton, who I think you met, he's going to help out with some of the logistics. And there's that, what's cool too is like there's a lot of talented people that show up to that also. So Lev Polyakov did the design for the shirts this year, and I thought the design was really good, but I try to change up the person who does the design every year. And so there was a couple
I want one of the hats from last year really bad. The
COVID edition ones?
Yeah, the I Survived or whatever. I love those.
Yeah. I'll send you one. I'll send you one. I got some extras.
I will wear one of those. Those were fucking awesome.
Oh, I've got a bunch of extra ones. I'll send you one. Yeah.
No joke, please.
They are cool. They're cool. And so there was some visual guys. There's a guy who does event planning out in Arizona that came, so he's gonna give some pointers and tips and stuff like that. Because as it grows, it is going to be a little bit more difficult to just kind of let it go on its own. And that so far has kind of been how it is. It's just you set it up and just let it go. And so I think in the future it's going to be a little bit different. But go with your ideas. Yeah.
All right. So first idea, and I'm going to work with both Carr and Birdman on this for next year. But I think as we go with the Bilderberg spoofed theme, I think it's important for us to build our rituals. And I think the weirder that they look visually and the more ridiculous they are, so the more that people who are unfamiliar with us might over the course of time think that we're actually all getting together in the woods every 10 years to, I don't know, praise an owl or burn a kid. But we're definitely going to have to come up with some very set rituals that we all adhere to as being very important. I think that that's going to be important for the long-term success of Childerberg. The next one is I'm going to have to go for longer because it was a little bit too quick and a little bit too much fun. So I think the way that we're going to do that to be cost effective is that I will just camp the first night and hotel the second night. So I can actually kind of be there for a full day, which, by the way, I know I don't come on. I'm a little bit of an introvert, and I rarely want to be at places any longer than, like, usually I want to perform and get the fuck out of there. So that's a tribute to how much fun it was.
Yeah, good.
And then the other thing is, I do think for the day after the stand-up, it's going to be worth getting a PA system. And just there's so much podcasting talent there. Yeah. I actually think it's worthwhile. And it doesn't have to be like set times, but I do think it's kind of worthwhile to publish a schedule of like, Run Your Mouth's going on at this time. Scott's going to do this time. This person's going to do this time. And I think, firstly, if you actually were to live stream it, first, you might be able to raise more funds for Free Ross because you could almost do it as like a Free Ross fundraiser, like on the bottom, like donate, like on the live stream, donate to Free Ross. Also, for people hanging out at the event, like if you know, like, oh, this is my favorite podcast, they're doing this time, it's easy to like go over there. And then, you know, it's cool because it goes in waves. Like you can be a newer podcast and you sit down, you're on that stage, and all of a sudden no one's there. And then one person sits down, 7 people sit down, or you get on after a bigger show. So you keep 15 of their audience, you end up walking. It doesn't matter. You just have to like be kind of cool to be like, hey, I'm just running my podcast and people will come and go. But I do think that there's so much podcasting talent there. And I know how much fun I had doing it. And I also learned, because I was thinking about doing it at night, and I do like late night drunk podcasts, but people are having fun. I don't like taking over the hang. Like everyone was having a good time, so there was no reason to like wrangle everyone to be like, all right, everyone, I'm making this about me. It's going to be my show now. So I think it's actually better as a daytime activity. But for next year, PA system where we can plug into the board, stream it live, and then also the PA system means you can have more of an audience hanging out for it if they want to.
Right.
And there's so much talent hanging out. So I think that's going to be like, firstly, that's going to be a pitch for you guys of getting more people to show up and be like, hell yeah, I'll pay for this, like as a ticket. And I also think it's fun for everybody. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That reminded me of another one that somebody suggested, was to kind of get like a portable bulletin board set up so that people can kind of like pin what they want to do in their area up. So like one of the things that I had mentioned earlier was we had a cook shanty there, which was like a catering team. They made like some awesome food. Aches, shout out to Aches, and I think it was Aches and Bird came up with this burger called the Fat Conkin.
Okay, that's a great name.
Yeah.
Props on the name. I would go to that restaurant, the Fat Conkin.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, the burger turned out to be awesome, actually. It's like it's bacon soaked in beer.
Cox? Oh, okay, I had that wrong. I was close.
Yeah, close though. Soaked in beer with brown sugar, and then that's fried up, and then caramelized bananas, unsweetened peanut butter.
Okay.
And then this all together on those, the Hawaiian rolls, those kind of like sweet rolls.
Yeah, the sweet potato rolls kind of.
With like a slider
burger.
A slider type hamburger patty.
You're looking at a real sweet, salty operation. I don't hate it.
Yeah, exactly.
I can respect what's going on there.
Turned out to be awesome and really delicious. It was like, and kind of like going in, I was like, I don't know about this. It seems kind of weird.
Now, being drunk, that's perfect.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, everybody liked that. They also made some biscuits and gravy one morning, which was, good Southern comfort food, and they did a really good job on it. They made a jambalaya one night. I'm trying to think of the other stuff that they made, but they made a lot of really good food. It was excellent. And then we had just other people also kind of like just bring their food. Like, I think his name is Year Zero, I think, on Twitter. He and his wife's South African. So they made this like special South African beef jerky called like Billiton or something like that. And it was really good. So like those are the types of things that you could like put up on the bulletin board, be like, hey, this is going to be available at campsite 30 or 34 or whatever at this time. Come by and try it out. And then people can kind of like go, like if they're, don't have anything specific to do, they just kind of go look on, oh, this is going on over there. Let's go check that out. And then same thing, like putting on, so I had these signs in front of all of our campsites that said Childeberg on them with like a logo from either Childeberg 1, 2, or 3. And so next year we'll do the same thing, but we'll add on the logo for Childeberg 4. But I was thinking on the back, we would get like a laminated map of the campground taped onto it, and then just like some like general information about things that we know are going to go on ahead of time and when, so that people can kind of just, as they're wandering around, they can kind of see on the back where they are and where
by the way,
where different things are.
A published schedule beforehand of the specific performance times with the ticket link is gonna get a lot more people to show up. Because, by the way, it could be that we're attracting the coolest people right now because they're the fucking freaks that like we're like, oh, you're just drinking out in the woods? All right, I'll just go drink out in the woods. Yeah. But there's definitely a different category of person that needs a little bit more to feel comfortable to be like, okay, I'll go do that.
Well, I think that was a great suggestion that you had because A, it helped us raise a lot more money, and B, there was a lot of people who didn't realize what was going on. And so when I had the tickets to the show up, they were like, oh, there's a show. And then that made them want to come out. And some of them were just like, oh, I'm just going to come that night and camp with you guys to save money on a hotel. And then they end up staying the next day too, which worked out fine. And so like things like that, I think there are like a certain number of people where, especially if they're new to it and they don't know anything about it, it seems kind of weird to just go out into the woods and hang out. It's the type of thing I would do, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody would do that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, unless something happens, I'm in for next year.
Cool.
I expect to be there more days. We'll have to work out some arrangements so that we can make it all viable. But I was honored last year that you guys reached out and said, hey, if you'll do stand up by the campfire, we'll pay to get you down here. And since I like all you guys, I was like, all right, I'll do it. Cool. And I as a guy who's like not a flaker, it broke my heart that I couldn't show up last year, but it was because I was in my parent. If I was not in my parents' house, I wasn't. It's not like I cared about COVID. I was just respecting their shit.
Last year was tough because I had 100 people signed up to go last year, and I had you, I had Nikki P, I had I think Mark Clare and Brian McWilliams were going to go. They were going to do some of their like amateur stand up as well, and a couple of other people. I don't remember who else were going to come out. And they were just, what my plan was, I was just going to get a flatbed truck and just park it, and everybody would just get up on the flatbed truck, and I'd have like a little mini PA system, and that's how we would do it. But we got kicked out of that campground. Then we got kicked out of my backup campground. Then we got kicked out of my backup campground. And I had to like scramble to find anything. And this was the only one that was open, but this campsite turned out to be awesome. And then we discovered the distillery that year too. And the distillery is really cool. And the people who own it are really neat too. And they appreciated the show. It takes a little bit of work off of them. And at first they were very nervous about it because they didn't know what to expect. But then when they started seeing, busload after busload of people unloading, and they were like,
right, they're like
dollar signs.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Things worked out. That's one of the other stories I want to tell. That I think is everybody's highlight. It's on a bajillion podcasts at this point because it's the legend of keys locked in car guy, or Grillberg as we've deemed him. But this dude who just was camping nearby locked his keys in his car. I guess he had like a hatchback and he was camping in the back, but he was kind of an older dude, maybe in his 50s or something. And so he's having like a hard time like reaching out and closing his hatch. So he decided he would close the hatch from the outside and then go around to the front and get in and then crawl into the back and go to sleep. But he closed the hatch and locked his car. So he kind of wandered
got
over
into someone's tent and raped them.
Well, almost. But he wandered over to us and he was like, hey guys, like I locked my keys in the car. Can any of you like help me break into the car? And I was like, well, somebody around here probably can. so go ask around. There's a bunch of anarchists, but nobody could. Nobody knew how to get in. They just did kind of the dude thing and just kind of like stood around the car and was like,
oh my god, that's actually really funny. Yeah.
And so he came back and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He tried calling AAA, but they weren't able to get out and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I always bring extra. I bring 10 tents and 10 sleeping bags just so in case people need them. And so I was like, well, I've got extras. So why don't we just put one up for you and you just sleep in there? And he's like, oh, thank you. Like I'll come back tomorrow. I'll bring you guys extra beers. I'll bring you ice and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And also we got a show tomorrow. Why don't you come out to the show? That'll be fun. He's like, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go out on the lake with my friends, but like, yeah, maybe I will or whatever. And I was like, okay, he woke up in the morning, thanked us, left. And I was like, okay, we probably won't see him again. And, sure enough, I was waiting for kind of like getting the van to come down so I could like greet people and send them to get drinks. And, he pulls up, walks in. He's like, hey, I'm here for the show. And I was like, all right, man, cool. And like, so he came in, he had a great time. He thought the comedy was hilarious. He loved the music. And then, and I was like, okay, that's probably it. We probably won't see him again. And, so then did I dox him? I hope I didn't. I didn't say his real name, did I? Okay, good. So later on, I see him again. He drives up and he's like, hey, I got the beers that I promised you guys. And I bought a bunch of ice too. So, can I like fill up some stuff? I was like, yeah, I'm sure there's some coolers that need to be filled up. And, granted, we had so much beer. It was like, I came home.
Unnecessary, but you're not going to be like, hey, we don't need your stupid beers, you old fuck.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But like we had, and I came back with a cooler plus 3 cases of beer, and I went there with 1 case of beer. So
hell yeah. Returns on your beer.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes, hey, but like I want to ask you something, but I want it to kind of be like on the DL. And I was like, oh yeah, what's up? Like I thought he was going to be like, I'm not a libertarian. Is that okay if I'm here and stuff? But he's not. He's like, look, they drug test me for marijuana at work. I was like, oh. Okay. And he's like, and I thought maybe then he's going to be like, well, can people like not smoke marijuana around me? And he's like, but they don't drug test me for mushrooms.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, I see what you're saying. And he goes, yeah, like, do you guys have any like mushrooms here? And I was like, well, given the people, go ask around. And so, I had to leave to go do something else at a different campsite. Apparently, like he gets out of his car, unloads the beer, unloads the ice, and just starts walking around going, does anybody have mushrooms?
Hey, it worked for me, so I can't hate on that guy.
Yeah. And then, like, so he takes some mushrooms, and then they're making the fat conkins. And apparently he has got, like, grilling experience or something. He has a food truck or he's buying a food truck.
Rando, dude.
Yeah, this dude's cool. He was so cool. And he's like, hey, I know how to, like, work a grill. Can I, like, I want to pay you guys back or whatever. And they're like, well, I mean, you can, work the burgers, I guess. And he's sitting there with like 40 burgers, like
and
flipping
he's
them.
Just so good at it.
Oh, and he was great. All the burgers were good. He's high as fuck on mushrooms and drinking beer the entire time.
Oh, that guy's a fucking keeper.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Hire him next year as Childerberg chef.
I think we're gonna get him back. He gave me his phone number, so I texted him.
Chef.
Yeah, Chill the Chef. Yeah, we deemed him Grillberg. So
that's not bad. Grillberg. Yeah, that's a better name. Yeah. Who came up with that? I hate them for being more creative than me.
Either Carr or Rollo, one of those two. Yeah. So yeah, he's just Grillberg, but he gave me his number. I texted him and I was like, hey man, it was really cool to see you. Are you on Twitter? And he's like, no. So I was like, okay, give me your email and I'll make sure that you're added to the newsletter so that as we get the more information out, you'll get it also. So that was also like a really good highlight. And then I'll tell you, when I was driving you and Kyle back to the hotel, Kyle was fucked up but hilarious.
I don't remember that car ride all that well. So
you were quiet, but we were.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, we were. I don't remember what we were talking about, but we got onto Cadbury cream eggs, and you were like, you said something like, "Oh, are those full of cum?" And I was like, well, they taste good, so they must be. And you two laughed. And I was like, yes, I made comedians laugh. So that was the other great highlight.
Okay. I'm happy you reminded me of that because I remember that we took a car ride. I didn't remember any specific conversation from it.
Yeah. Both you and Kyle by like 1 o'clock were fucked up.
I'm pretty quick to make a cum joke.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was that out of my element. I thought I was riding the wave pretty good, but I guess both you were. Up.
Yeah,
I came to find you at 12:45 and said we're 15 minutes away from extraction time.
Yep, and yeah, exactly. And I grabbed the van and we went back, and Kyle was just like lunatic mode. It was great.
Oh, God bless. Well, no. I can't hate on him because I don't even remember that. So
it was like lunatic mode, but good. Like he was just like so happy, like hugging everybody, like
vibes,
laughing.
Dude.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. It was just a great time.
All right. Well, next year we're gonna do it bigger, dude.
Yeah. Yep. I'll keep you in the loop, and I'm going to ask you for some advice because you've given me some very valuable advice for this year already.
No, we're gonna do it big, and I think the legend's only growing. And I also think as all of us are podcasting more individually, we're gonna have bigger audiences. So I think we almost I wouldn't be surprised if we sell out your campsites next year, and we're like a little bit surprised by like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of selling out the campsites, so one thing that also was suggested this year, and we're probably going to do it for next year, is we're probably going to get a house or two nearby from Airbnb. So I know there's a lot of people who don't like to camp. It's a little bit cheaper, I think, if we get an Airbnb and just kind of split it up for people. So if you are interested, but you're not a camper, sign up for the newsletter on childeberg.com anyways. And at some point there'll be Airbnb spaces probably available. And you can still hang out with the Childeberg people. It'll just be at a house for the evenings and then come back out to the campgrounds when you want to hang out during the day.
Smart. All right, we did it. Why don't you plug your stuff? Tasting Anarchy, but give us a pitch.
Childeberg.com. Follow me at Childeberg for most of the updates. We do have a Facebook page. I'm going to update it a lot more this year. I really don't operate on Facebook very well, but I'm going, now that we're getting bigger, I know, and we pulled a huge Facebook crowd this year, which was bizarre because I never updated the Facebook page, but we had like 30 people from Facebook, which was really cool.
That's so weird. I never use Facebook in any capacity.
Maybe I
gotta get back over there. You know what weirds me out about Facebook is that I still have all of the parents' friend religious crowd that like I don't want. I don't know why I'm still embarrassed of those people, but like I still don't really want them in the loop on what I'm doing. Whereas like the Twitter and Instagram are like new friends, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like Facebook kind of weirds me out. I don't hang out there. I don't like check on it that often.
Yeah, neither do I. And like we had like 4 Childeberg pages for some reason on Facebook, and I deleted all of them but one.
Right.
And but it's just it operates differently than Twitter, and I just was never very good at running Facebook stuff. But Mason, my co-host on Tasting Anarchy, he's running the Facebook page, and he does a pretty good job on that. So he updates that every couple of weeks with just new information and stuff like that. There's not really a very active community on that page, so kind of join us over on Twitter. There's also a Discord. If you want an invite to the Childeberg Discord, you can DM me on Twitter at Childeberg, or you can email me tastinganarchy@gmail.com, and I'll send you a Discord link. And that's really it. I mean, you can listen to my podcast, Tasting Anarchy. It's a podcast about wine. You've been on it. So we just talk about wine, and how much government is in your drink is our tagline. So that's kind of the angle. So,
all right.